Imagine waking up tomorrow to a headline that stops the world. Humanity will end on August 17, 2473 at 3:42 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time. It isn't a rumor or a prophecy. Scientists, governments, and every independent expert confirm the same result. An unavoidable chain of events, cosmic or earthly, will wipe out our species at that exact moment. No escape, no loopholes, absolute certainty. What would life be like if every person alive suddenly knew the date and time of humanity's extinction? The announcement would send shockwaves through every corner of the globe. Stock markets would collapse within hours as the idea of long-term profit became meaningless. Borders might dissolve overnight as people question the point of nations when everyone shares the same countdown. Some people would panic, hoarding supplies, trying to flee to remote places even though they know there's nowhere to hide. Others might fall into a deep calm, feeling strangely liberated now that the ultimate deadline is written in stone. For the first time in history, every person would be united by a single, undeniable truth: the end date of our entire species. Calendars and clocks would take on a new weight. Children born after the announcement would grow up measuring their lives against the ticking countdown. Phrases like, "see you next year," or "let's plan for the future," would gain a haunting double meaning. Education systems would shift focus. Why spend decades training for a career when you know exactly how long the world will last? Schools might emphasize creativity, art, and understanding the universe over job skills. Universities might pivot from profit-driven research to projects aimed at preserving knowledge or simply enjoying the remaining centuries. Religious movements would surge, splinter, and transform. Some faiths might interpret the date as a final prophecy fulfilled. Others might see it as a challenge to seek meaning without a future. Atheists and believers alike would debate whether the knowledge of the end proves or disproves any spiritual truth. New philosophies would bloom overnight. Extinctionism might urge humanity to accept fate with dignity, while continuists might believe that the prediction can somehow be outsmarted. Communities could form around rituals of remembrance, daily gratitude, or radical joy. Governments would face an unprecedented test. Without the leverage of an endless future, long-term politics, taxes, pensions, national debt would feel absurd. Leaders might push for global cooperation, knowing that wars and rivalries are meaningless when everyone shares the same deadline. But human nature isn't so simple. Some regimes might tighten control, promising protection or secret salvation. Others might collapse entirely as citizens abandon obedience. Diplomacy could flourish or vanish depending on whether people choose solidarity or chaos. Money would lose its traditional purpose. Why invest for decades of interest when there are only centuries, or perhaps just decades, left? People might favor direct barter, local production, and immediate pleasure. Art, music, and experience could become the true currency. Yet basic needs would remain: food, energy, medicine. Cooperative economies might rise, focused not on growth but on sustaining life and comfort for the remaining time. A global, final budget could emerge, pooling resources to keep humanity thriving until the last day. Scientists, paradoxically, might be more motivated than ever. With the clock ticking, research could explode in two directions. One is understanding, unraveling as many cosmic mysteries as possible so that the final generation dies wiser than any before. The other is preservation, archiving human knowledge, art, and DNA in hopes that some trace might survive, on the Moon, on Mars, or in deep space probes. Even if survival is impossible, the urge to leave a message would be irresistible. Golden records, digital vaults beneath mountains, spacecraft carrying libraries of human history. Our species would race to create monuments that outlast the planet itself. On the most intimate scale, knowing the exact end would change love, friendship, and family. Some couples might rush to have children, eager to experience parenthood even in a finite timeline. Others might decide against bringing new life into a doomed world. Every birthday would carry the shadow of the final date. People might cherish each day more deeply, sunsets, meals with friends, moments of laughter, because they know precisely how many remain. Human creativity would likely bloom like never before. With no long future to plan for, artists, musicians, and writers might create with fearless urgency. Great final symphonies, breathtaking novels, and monumental architecture could emerge as the world turns its last centuries into a celebration of expression. Festivals marking each year closer to the end might become global traditions, blending joy and melancholy. Imagine New Year's Eve knowing exactly how many New Year's Eves remain. As the predicted date draws nearer, every milestone would feel sharper. When only 100 years remain, children born then would know they are part of the last generation. They might embrace a philosophy of present living, free from the weight of legacy but rich in immediate meaning. Infrastructure would slowly shift from expansion to graceful decline. Cities might be redesigned for beauty and comfort rather than durability. Energy grids would focus on reliability rather than growth. The goal would be to keep life rich and humane until the final moment. When only 10 years remain, humanity might reach an eerie peace. With no future to fear and no past to change, people could dedicate themselves entirely to connection, family gatherings, worldwide celebrations, and unbroken vigil for the species. Alternatively, some might succumb to despair or chaos. But after centuries of preparation, many cultures could face the end with acceptance, having had generations to practice saying goodbye. On the morning of August 17, 2473, or whatever date was foretold, the world would hold its breath. Across the globe, people might gather in massive assemblies or private circles, watching the clocks tick toward the appointed time. Messages of love and remembrance would stream across whatever global networks still exist. And then, when the final moment arrives, whether through a cosmic event, a slow environmental unraveling, or a mysterious phenomenon, humanity would meet extinction fully aware, a species that faced the unknown with open eyes. What this thought experiment reveals, knowing the exact time of our extinction, would be both terrifying and strangely freeing. It would strip away the illusion of infinite tomorrows, forcing us to decide what truly matters when the future is a fixed point. Perhaps we would learn to cooperate on a scale we've never managed before. Perhaps we would finally treat each day as precious, every sunrise a gift. Or perhaps we would prove how stubborn and divided we can be, even with eternity gone. Either way, the thought forces a simple reflection: we don't know our ending now. And that uncertainty, frightening, frustrating, but full of possibility, is part of what makes every ordinary day worth living.